Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Hafner. Thanks for joining us today. I'm a career coach here in the CDO and have been here for the past 5 years. I am delighted to welcome Aaron Moser, who is one of the first year students that I worked with in the past year. I think he has an amazing story to tell and can really give some insight into his process for his internship search. So Aaron, welcome. I wanted to just first open up with if you could share with us what your pre-SOM employer was, your role there, and then what you recruited for your internship.
Great, thanks, Stephanie. So before coming to SOM, I worked for 6 years at McMaster-Carr, which is an industrial e-commerce supply company. There I was a manager, and I worked all across the business in strategy and operations. So I just recruited for a variety of jobs in energy and climate related fields, and that's what we'll get into now.
Awesome. Yes. So that's really what we were going to get into in terms of your very specific focus. So talk about a little bit more about your specific area about renewables and climate tech and that very niche focus.
Yeah. So I decided to leave my job, return to school, and come to Yale in particular to reorient my career around scaling clean technologies to drive decarbonization and address climate change. That said, I was pretty uncertain about kind of where exactly within that kind of broad industry I wanted to work, whether it was going to be more on the finance side, more on the operational side, at a innovative startup or an established incumbent. So I came in with a clear sort of direction, but still a lot of uncertainty and looking at a pretty significant career change and switch, no matter what.
Awesome. And I know that we first met, and you met for the first time anybody in the CDO, late January. And we did a resume review, which we usually do in the fall with most students. But I come to learn as I've known you, as I've come to know you more, that it was actually very intentional. And you were very strategic about the way you had approached your first semester at SOM. Can you tell us a little bit about what was going through your mind, what you had planned in this fall so that you could get started recruiting in the spring?
Yeah, well, I would certainly not encourage anyone to wait until the second semester to meet with someone at the CDO. I think you were great, and I'm sure there are lots of other great coaches there who would be beneficial to talk to earlier. But I can shed light on kind of what I was thinking and what I did before that point. So as I described, I came in intending to really switch industries and switch roles quite significantly. And I had really no formal experience on my resume that would indicate, my candidacy for the types of jobs I wanted. So it seemed to me that instead of going straight into sort of formal recruiting or interviews or applications in the fall, that I would be better off spending as much time as I could building my industry expertise and relevant experience to really build out a resume, build out a knowledge base and a network to be able to show my passion, show my abilities, build a network. And I sort of did that in several ways. The first thing I did was I entered a couple different case competitions that were relevant to clean tech. These were good learning opportunities, good ways for me to meet classmates with similar interests. And luckily, 2 times my groups won prizes, so we were able to really get something tangible to take away, to put on the resume, and to talk with people about in future conversations. Secondly, I attended several different industry conferences, all on a digital platform this year. So again, there I learned about a lot of really cool companies, started to understand some different industry trends, and also took advantage of the networking platforms at those events to meet people and to get to know people in the space. One of those conversations, connected me with a solar startup out of Boston, who I started working with on a part-time internship basis throughout the year, which was very useful experience. And again, something I can really point to show, my building knowledge in the space.
That's great. I think you used your fall very smartly, and didn't realize when I first met you, you had done so much networking and laying of the groundwork before meeting with us. So can you talk to us, since you are a career switcher? Prior, you had a very strong operations background, and you wanted to move into, of course, energy and renewables and climate tech. How did you talk about some of your experience and skills with potential employers, given you didn't have as much relevant experience as in the industry as some others do?
Yeah, so I really just tried to focus on, the experiences and the skills I had that I thought were very translatable. Pointed to, leadership. I was a manager. I managed teams and operations of, considerable size and complexity, and the breadth of experience I had. So I worked both in sales and customer service and in warehouse operations and implementing new technologies. So really just kind of to show the variety of skills and experiences I had, and then just to talk about successes. I was promoted several times. I led a variety of different groups of teams. So I would kind of point to these, what I thought were translatable experiences that showed kind of my breadth, and then move into spending more time talking about the specific projects and opportunities I'd taken advantage of earlier, at Yale in the climate space.
That's great. And that's exactly what we would recommend, is talking about any transferable skills that you have demonstrated in the past and bring that into the future. So just one last question before we get to the parting words of wisdom. I know you and I had worked closely on one of the applications, and you initially got a rejection from a recruiter. So that was one of the pain points that we worked through together. But how did you magically transform that first initial rejection into getting them to interview you?
Yeah, so I really wasn't intending to do that per se, but there was this firm that I thought was an excellent opportunity, somewhere that I could really see myself working. It was a relatively small firm, and when I got a rejection email, I replied just to ask for some insight into sort of what they thought of my candidacy, whether or not what they could recommend I could do differently. Again, with the background, hey, I'm trying to break into this space. I'm really passionate about it, but I don't have years of experience. I'd love any insight you can give me into what I'm doing well or what I should aim to do differently in the future. And the recruiter replied and said, hey, I'd love to talk more. And actually, I'm really interested by the passion you've shown. And when I look again at your resume, I see maybe there is a fit here. So I ended up being invited in for a second round interview for this opportunity. I didn't end up getting the job, but had a couple great conversations and kind of maintained a contact who I will hopefully run into in this industry down the road, because it is a relatively small world.
Awesome. Great turnaround story. And with our last minute, I know you ended up getting an internship, of course, at Broadscale in the VC space, and are super excited you're learning about it now. Any parting words of wisdom for our incoming first year class as they embark onto their recruiting journey in their first year?
Yeah, so I think particularly for anyone out there who's changing careers, I just really encourage you to spend as much time as you can gaining as many experiences as you can, working with companies, working with professors, taking advantage of the various offerings there are at Yale, SOM, and related schools here. And to keep your eye on this as being a long-term process, because the goal really isn't the first interview you get in the fall, or even the job you get the summer after your first year. It's about what you're going to be able to do after school, and how all these experiences are building up your resume and your knowledge base and network to really take you to the job after school and to the rest of your career.
Awesome. Thanks for the advice, Aaron. Really appreciate your time. And thanks to everybody for watching. Keep an eye out on CDO Connect newsletter for our website, and more video stories that are coming throughout the summer from our students. Take care.